and welcome to Centre Court. All thanks to Lapine Funerals, supporting women in sport for over 125 years. And my co-host, she got the memo. We must wear pink today and match the set.
Well, I've always wanted to be a little me, a little P, and so I've really nailed it today. Bianca, are you proud of me?
I'm proud of you. I love that, especially two tough defenders in our time, and we're both wearing pink.
Oh. It's really softened up in our old age.
Anyway, we must talk about the two semi-finals that took place over the weekend in Suncorp Super Netball because, Shans, they were two huge games. This first one coming up, Lightning took on the Swifts and, boy, did they teach them a lesson.
Didn't they? They really showed their finals experience. You know, the Swifts getting up by 5 goals at one point there and the Lightning just saying, I don't think so. We're turning this game around. You know, they were just, as a team, more of a solid performance.
Yeah.
The Swifts couldn't break through once they got into their heads, shook them up a little bit, the nerves crashed them and there's nowhere to go from there.
No, and we'll talk about some of their standout players a bit later on, but the Swifts had a really high penalty count. So they were trying, but it was just their one-on-one defence that they were playing that just didn't work for them against Cara Conan and Steph Wood, who were outstanding.
Absolutely, and we chatted about that last week, babe. You know, like, I don't want to say that we're not coaches by any means, but, you know, that's what happens if you don't have those players out on court together in the weeks leading up to finals, and you lose that connection between each other. So hopefully Maddie Turner and Sarah Clough can regain that confidence and combination that they had earlier this season.
Well, that's one semi-final down. We've got one to go, all thanks to Lapine Funerals, and this was such an amazing game, I thought. From round 14, we had Magpies smash the Vixens, and then it was the complete reverse in that first semi-final. The Vixens had a very convincing win over the Magpies, and they had a 20-9 first quarter.
Unbelievable.
Vixens came out there with such passion, didn't they? Intensity, connection.
Yeah.
They really knew what they had to do, I guess, to get that game off to a good start.
Yeah, and they absolutely did. It was intense from the start, and I don't think anyone could believe their eyes when that quarter started. And, you know, we were both sideline B, and I was personally just like, what is happening here? But Vixens brought the intent, they brought the intensity that you need to bring to a finals game, and at the end of the day, Magpies didn't. And if you can't match it from the start, it's too hard to try and play catch-ups, and especially being at the State Hockey Netball Centre, which, as you know, is the Vixens training ground. I think that it was loud in there. It was a crazy Vixens crowd, and having that 8th player out on court, they didn't give up. It's not like they got 5 up and thought, we'll just cruise now, which is so common in netball. They put their foot down and at one point in time got up to a 20-goal lead. So a phenomenal performance by them. Unfortunate for the Magpies. They put their heads together, regroup and figure out what they're going to do coming into 2020.
Well, we did hear post-game that Natalie Medhurst actually played that game with 2 broken ribs, which she got in round 14.
That's insane, isn't it?
And she was telling me that she had injections in there to even get herself up for the game. And since the game, she has hardly been able to move. She's been in that much pain. So a pretty incredible effort for her to be able to actually play majority of that game.
Absolutely. And it just shows how tough she is, and especially mentally to be able to get out to do that. Yeah. Well done, Nat.
Well done, Nat. Well, it's time for us to set the agenda, all thanks to Lapine Funerals, supporting women in sport for over 125 years. And Shans, you're first up. Setting the agenda today, you want to talk about 12 players in a team now?
Yeah, I think so, Bianca. And we've talked about this when Super Netball first came in. It got brought down to 10, and I have no issues with trialling out new scenarios to see what fits best for the world's best netball competition. But I think we're at the point in time now where we've just talked about Nat Medhurst, who played the weekend with broken ribs, but they also didn't have enough people on the bench to be able to bring out onto the court either. People also don't know that Gabby Sinclair, the backup goal attack, was also carrying an injury, and I think there's just not enough people there at the moment to be able to put out on the court. You need 4 attackers, 4 centre court and 4 defenders. Not only that, you're helping develop the players that haven't had that experience, and they're getting that game day experience, which is so much more important than just rocking up on a training day. So for me, I'm saying bring back in the 12.
Bring back in the 12. It's an interesting conversation because we've heard about, you know, unlimited imports in Super Netball, and there's been talk of adding 2 new teams of 10, instead adding 2 new players to each of the current teams. So a bit of a debate, I reckon, that might happen in the off-season.
Yeah, well, we can join in on that.
Well, it's time for me to set the agenda, and one thing that I want to do is I want to put the journos on notice, because over the last week we've seen some articles in the papers talking up the great game talking about the games that are coming up, photos of players who have been absolutely dominating, and one player in particular, Ash Brazel, has been outstanding. Take a look at this, a whole page in the Herald Sun.
That's phenomenal.
And it's not even a picture of her. Oh. It's a picture of an Adelaide Thunderbirds player, not even a Magpies player.
Nah, you can't even get the team right.
We can be so much better than that.
We can be.
And there was another example. Take a look at this photo. This was a wrap-up of the Magpies Vixens game, and it had a picture of who we know as Shimona Nelson and Joe Weston, and what they said was Lizzie Watson in there at goal defence trying to get that ball.
Who's a wing attack for the Australian Diamonds netball team.
Exactly. I'm going to name and shame, and that was the age, that article. So I think we need to be better. We need someone in there double-checking that. I mean, I don't think it's the netball journalist's responsibility, but whoever's working at those papers, get that right, because it's so important, I think, for our game that we don't make those little errors, that we showcase these great players.
Absolutely, and it's just a sign of respect also. Like, I can't imagine that they would get Gary Ablett and Dustin Martin confused.
No.
And so in this day of equality where we're fighting to even get on broadcast, TV, to be listened to be taken seriously, and we can't even be taken seriously when our players have a huge photo in the paper that's not even there. But also congratulations to Ash Brazel for calling that out, because that's all we can really do at this point in time. We can't stand there and hold you accountable, but we just ask that you show us a little bit of respect for the amount of time and effort that these girls do put in to be the best that they can be at their sport. And we are professional, we're trying to be more professional, and we need your support. So pull your finger out and help us out.
Yes. Good one. I love it. OK, now it's time, Shans, for your Leader of the Week. I have a sneaky suspicion I know who this might be.
Who will it be? Well, is she Leader of the Week or is she Leader of Forever? So the Leader of the Week this week is for me, of course, after the Sunshine Coast Lightning's game on the weekend, Laura Langman. She was absolutely phenomenal, and the reason Langman was my Leader of the Week, it's because of the strong player that she is, it's because of her confidence, it's because, you know, I said last week that you don't have to be the best player out on court, but she is the best player out on court. But around that also provides that person that her team can turn to if they need to calm it down, if anything needs to happen, that she'll point where to go. She dives for those huge, you know, the world now renowned, the intercept through the circle when her player went offside on the weekend, which everyone was talking about. But Laura is a leader because of her work ethic. She never complains. If she gets called by the umpire, she gets on with the job. She's there for her team at all times, and she just does the work that she knows that the team needs to do and makes the right decisions in the right time. And I think that everyone would love to have a Laura Langman in their team.
Totally, and even look at this tweet from Kim Green. Laura Langman, you are my hero.
And like, Kim Green is everyone's hero, let alone who even knew that she had a hero.
You and Kim Green both played with Laura Langman for the Swifts. Is she just one of those freak athletes, or does she work really hard behind the scenes to get everything right?
Well, yeah, absolutely, she's a freak athlete, but she works so hard behind the scenes to do that. So for anyone out there that's done a fitness or the yo-yo, we got told before she came to the New South Wales Swifts she could run 21, and I was like, oh, whatever, Kiwis do not run it right. Anyway, surely enough, she came to New South Wales and she ran 21 on the yo-yo. She would lap everybody in our team. Her work ethic and work rate and the way that she lifts in the weights room 3 to 4 times a week is phenomenal. She's the strongest, hardest working, switched on, dots the I's, crosses the T's, does everything right. And so it's no surprise that she's the athlete that she is, because she works harder than anyone, any other athlete that I've ever played with.
And that's why she's potentially one of the greatest we've ever seen.
Absolutely.
In her position. It's now time for the Nitty Gritty, all thanks to Lexus of Berwick. Experience amazing with us. And I'm going to follow on from that, Shans.
Continue.
Because the Nitty Gritty for me, I reckon we've got to delve deeper into this coach-captain relationship. Nolene Tarua from the Lightning and Laura Langman have such a great connection. They know how to play and get the best out of their team together. They obviously have a very close relationship. I reckon they give each other a lot of good feedback. And they're also a part of an even bigger club. And look at this, the Melbourne Storm. Craig Bellamy, Cam Smith, the same connection, I believe, from the outside looking in.
Phenomenal.
They've won so many titles, potentially 2019 for both clubs. And I want to understand what it's like, right? We know what it's like to have a relationship with a coach, one that's either not very good or one that's very good.
Yes.
But you know, with a team you build, you want people to be accountable for what's going on.
Yes.
You want people to put in the effort at training and during the games.
Absolutely.
And if they don't put in the effort, you want to make sure that the players are always held accountable. That whether it's a teammate, whether it's a coach, can go and have an honest conversation. I have heard a lot of the Melbourne Storm players talk about it. You know their CEO, Dave Donahue, who looks after both of those clubs. What's he like? He must be a pretty inspirational leader.
He is. Dave is a truly inspirational leader because he looks after the person as well as the athlete. He makes sure that, you know, they're looked after as a human being. But not only that, he backs them up. So at the club, he backs them up. In the media, he backs them up. And he's just honest. He's like, no BS.
Yeah.
This is how it is. But he looks after everyone and makes sure that it is the most high-performing environment going around. So it definitely leads from the top, from Dave, then working all the way down through the club.
Yeah, so it's by no mistake that these two clubs are so successful. That was the Nitty Gritty, all thanks to Lexus of Berwick. Experience amazing with their unique one-touch purchase. Visit lexusofberwick.com.au. Shans, we always finish the show with Coach Says. All right, I'm going to go up first with, there's only two coaches participating this weekend. One's Bryony Aikle and Simone McInnes. I'm going to start with Simone McInnes. I think if I was her, I would continue the way they played last week, obviously, but continue that first quarter domination, and that is to bring the physical game. Don't just rely on the silky skills. I'm not saying go out there and be dirty, but I'm saying you need to approach the game with a lot of aggression. You need to step out there. You need to show Swifts from the start what they're coming up against, because the way they're going to beat the Swifts, they haven't done it at all this year, but the way they're going to beat them is just that perseverance and that pressure that they're going to apply for the whole game. And you watch, if they do that in that fourth quarter, they'll come through with the goods and they'll be taking intercepts and they'll be playing in their own momentum because of what they do in that first quarter.
Absolutely, and so dangerous they are when they do that. So in saying that, Bianca, if I was Bryony Aikle coaching against the Melbourne Vixens, I would have been looking at what they did on the weekend. They had a little bit of a different defensive structure. Their wing defence and centre were keeping the players high, separating them from the goal shooter and goal attack, which created so many turnovers. So a little bit of a zone and a one-on-one in the circle. So if I was Bryony Aikle, I'd be teaching my players how to cut through that, how to still stay connected, how do you get around those players that are trying to keep them high. And not only that, I would be preparing them for the physicality this week, because they are going to come out tough, Bianca. I have no doubt. So the Swifts need to be ready to get hit, and if they're going to be ready to get hit, then they need to practice that at training this week. Otherwise, it is going to be a shock. It's going to be a tiring game for them, for both teams. So I can't wait to suss it out and see who wins.
Well, Centre Court is brought to you by Lapine Funerals. Now, Sharni, I can't go without getting your tip. Who's going to win and by how many?
I'm actually going to back in the Vixens this week. I can't go past them after how they played last week, and I think they're going to win by 5 goals.
Whoa.
What about you?
I'm definitely going to tip the Vixens. The game is going to take place at 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon at Key Centre in Sydney. I'm going to say Vixens by 9, and it's going to be a Vixens Lightning grand final. And we'll be back to talk about all of what happened in the prelim and to preview the grand final. So make sure you tune in next week. Thanks for joining us.